Hi, boys and girls. Once again, I'm going to be reading from Lives of the Musicians. And it's by Kathleen, Krull, illustrated by Catherine Hewitt. I like to make sure I give that credit where credit is due. And we're going to read about Antonio Vivaldi. And one of his nicknames was the Red Priest, and you're going to find out why that is. And I don't know if you can see this because I'm outside, but there's sort of a picture of him. He was one of the most original and influential Italian composers of his generation, most famous for his 400 concertos, especially the Four Seasons. And I can guarantee you that you might think, I don't know the Four Seasons, but yeah, I know you've heard it because it's in the background of numerous movies and advertising, and so look it up, YouTube it, or Google it, because I know that you'll recognize it. So here we go. Sunny, warm Venice was a place where you couldn't get away from music. Gondoliers serenaded up and down the canals. Fruit vendors whistled, shoemakers and shoppers sang from morning to night. Festivals, theaters, parties, and religious services required a constant supply of new music. Antonio Vivaldi's father had big plans for him. He taught him the violin, got him a job as a violinist, and sent Vivaldi into the priesthood when the boy was only 15 years old. Father and son played duets at church. By the time Antonio was 25, he took a job teaching violin at an orphanage for girls. He was earning 4 times as much as his father. Wonder how that went over. So he spent most of his life teaching at this orphanage. Next to the big iron gate of the orphanage was a little nook in the wall where every morning the porter would check for new arrivals. In other words, babies. Orphaned or abandoned babies were given a home and taught music. The girls gave concerts that were a highlight of musical life in Venice. They sang like angels, and they played their instruments with great skill. It was said that the orphanage had the best disciplined orchestra in Italy at the time. Yet the girls were seldom seen. At concerts, they were hidden from the audience by an iron gate, possibly because some were deformed. Since they performed in a church, no applause was allowed, okay? So back then, people did not clap in church. But people would express their enthusiasm by coughing, shuffling, or blowing their noses loudly. Of course, we would not want to be doing that now, right? No coughing, no blowing your nose in public, right? So anyway, I thought that was kind of hilarious. So I'm going to show you a picture of the little nook. And this is, I know it seems very archaic, but remember, this is a long time ago, okay? So if somebody had a baby and they, just couldn't keep it, they would put it in that little nook and off they would go, the orphanage would take it. Vivaldi had to make sure everything ran smoothly. During intermission, he would keep people entertained by playing his violin. He had thick, curly red hair, and sometimes he wore red robes. More people knew him by his nickname, the Red Priest, than by his real name. But he did not seem especially priestly. He didn't say Mass. He said that his weak condition, possibly asthma, prevented him from getting through a long religious service. But others said that he was forbidden to say the Mass because he was always disappearing from the altar to jot down musical ideas. Vivaldi may have been sickly, but he worked very hard. He taught violin, conducted orchestra, performed at concerts, and bought musical instruments for the school. Outside the orphanage, he toured in support of his own playing and composing. Vivaldi wrote music for all occasions. He was one of the most prolific composers in the history of music. Vivaldi must have been full of energy and probably didn't have time to be temperamental. He didn't agonize over his work. He was deferential to those in authority, and he never seemed to get in trouble. Sometimes he was playful, putting little jokes in his music. He was terribly sensitive to criticism and notoriously vain. He liked to boast about his fame, his rich patrons, and his ability to write music so quickly. Some people think he sometimes lied, saying he had written 94 operas, for example, when he only had written 49. Only 49 had ever been found, okay? So, I don't know. Maybe he hid them on a wall or something. Vivaldi was obsessed with money. He always asked the highest possible price for his music, but he also spent his money And when he died at 63 from a mysterious inflammation, he died poor, and his music had gone out of fashion. Not until the music of Bach was rediscovered over 100 years later, and it was seen how much Bach respected the Red Priest, did interest in Vivaldi's music revive. And just as a side note, in 1989, 2 of the top 10 compact discs selling in England were Vivaldi's music. So there you have it. And I will meet with you again. I hope you're doing well. Again, I miss you all very, very much. And I hope that you are all well and safe.